Right, I'm up forward here on our little Old Town, and we are just about to apply the last coat of varnish on the gunnels that we're going to put on for this year. And we've put a couple coats on the gunnels already and a couple coats inside. This is going for the third heavy coat here. And we've prepped the gunnels, like I said, the inside of the transom and the knees. And we're at the breast hook. And I just thought I'd show you how we go about it here. Now we're actually just taking a very small piece of 220 sandpaper here, and we're just going to sand. All right, we're just sanding this coat of varnish out here with a piece of 220 and following the grain around the breast hook here. Breast hook's got a nice grain in it. It was cut from a off-cut of that very large timber that we bought to make the 4-foot for another boat. And there was a knot in it right here. Real nice piece here. So what we're doing here is sanding it out with some 220. That gets all the dust and dirt and bugs and imperfections in the grade out of it. It kind of grades it kind of nicely, but we're not going to get into it too deep because we don't want to remove the varnish really. We just really want to grade it out a little bit. And this accomplishes that. And then after that's been done, I'm just going to move out onto the gunnels. This is simply done very nice and lightly so that you don't go through the varnish, and be careful of the corners. And then you feel that, and that's going to feel kind of nice. And then what we do is we take a Scotch-Brite pad, because the Scotch-Brite pad reaches in and gets all the glaze from the varnish where we can't reach with the sandpaper. So it really completes the job so that every bit of that surface has been dulled with either sandpaper or the Scotch-Brite. That allows the varnish to stick to the next coat below it. Scotch-Brite doesn't really remove a whole lot, so you can go over and over it quite a bit. Dulls it. All right, we're gonna wipe down now with denatured alcohol and a little rag. Just get most of the dust off the surface. All right, we've gone around with the alcohol and the rag, and once that's dried, we've switched over here to a tack cloth. It's a very tacky cloth that attracts dust and just pulls the dust right off the surface to pick up that last little bit of dust that might possibly be there before we apply the varnish. Just starting to apply the final coat up here, up forward at the breast hook, and we're going to work down one side of the boat and around the stern end and up the other side. What we're trying to do here, obviously, is get enough varnish on there to cover the entire surface. But if you were to apply a little bit too much, well, you'd get runs. Now, most of the varnish would dry, but in that run wouldn't dry very well. So the next day when you come back to prep it up for the next coat, that run would still be soft. So you can't allow that to happen. So quite often what happens here when we're varnishing is we'd have two people, one person doing the varnish and the actual varnish, and another person getting his eye in all kinds of different positions and reflecting the light in every different which way so that you can see whether or not you have a bare spot or a run, and it can be taken care of before you just allow it to continue drying. So you want enough varnish on there so that you can sand some of that surface off before you apply the next coats, so that the base coats of varnish underneath those finished coats never get removed, hopefully, and it would just stay on there for years and years, and you'd just be prepping up the surface again and again, knocking a little bit of varnish off the surface and then applying another coat. This last coat of varnish just seems to be going on just exactly right now. We haven't thinned the varnish at all. This is basically right out of the can here. Now, if it were any thicker, we'd thin it a little bit, but we haven't had the need to, and we haven't had any runs developing on us, so it hasn't gone on too thick, and we haven't thinned it and made it go on too thin. We don't have dry spots, and we've looked around for runs, and the job is just coming out great. And this is what it takes, because it's not only to just make the boat look good, but this is a protective coating that we're applying here, and we're going to continue to do this 2 or 3 times a year so that this boat remains protected throughout its lifetime here, and we don't have any reason to remove this finish and start all over again. This is about as easy to maintain a finish as it could possibly be, actually, and as pretty.